Hello and welcome to the show. We start this week's Downhill Chaos with the DSC Buggy, a vehicle that I am expecting to go pretty damn fast down this course. Four-wheel drive, very lightweight. When driven on tarmac, it's phenomenally fast accelerating and so on. And its course is built for surviving bumps. It's got big off-road suspension, plenty of ground clearance, and so on. So yes, there is a certain amount of expectation that this thing will go pretty quickly. However, this course does have plenty of dangers and difficulties for any vehicle to be dealing with. First few corners, I did not have any particular problems, and with this being four-wheel drive, I mean, you're not likely to spin certainly not as bad as the rear-wheel drive cars. Finding vehicles tend to slide quite a lot on this particular course, and sort of spinning out completely is less likely with a four-wheel drive car. The problem with the Buggy was the bounciness. Yeah, one bump there. And that was all it took, and it was just bouncing from side to side, and I couldn't stop it from bouncing, and then we found a tree. And then we did stop it from bouncing, then we stopped it from moving. Yeah, very, very bouncy. This car, for whatever reason, we're just trying to take a little bit too much speed, and that was a bit of a wheelie and then into a tree. The other downside with this vehicle, you can see it's ripped the steering apart and given us a flat tyre on the back. The other downside is because this thing is so fast, when you do actually get it settled, you then end up finding you're carrying so much speed into parts of the track that you're not normally carrying speed into, and that's when you go flying off the map or flying into a tree. More fighting for control on some bumps and still not getting it stopped. Vehicle is working. As you can see, rear tyre is shot to hell, and sort of the entire rear axle bit is all twisted up. Yeah, it is still drivable. No, that's not really. And that was just the problem that I was having with this vehicle. If you got it caught on the bumps and you were trying to sort of accelerate and so on, because it's kind of going so bloody quickly, it would very easily get yourself fired off the course. This time, just clipping the edge of the tunnel and completely twisting the chassis of the Buggy. That's quite a nasty crash. That's not it's not really the angle that you want your chassis at. Yeah, it was probably one of the more difficult vehicles I've had for dealing with these bumps, because it just got so much airtime. Again, another example, I was just trying to get that tiny little bit more speed out of it, and then we're bouncing, and then you can't stop it. Once it's got going, I mean, that's done some interesting twisting of the front suspension. That's not really the angle that all of those bits are really wanting to be. If you did get things right, yes, this was very, very fast. Coming into the tunnel, I thought I'd be brave on the opening attempt to try and carry some speed. It wasn't a good idea. It just sort of twisted on the landing. It probably would have been okay had it just not slightly twisted. I think we could have got away with that kind of speed, but it wasn't to be. We were to cartwheel and tumble into a tree. Now, you'll often see with me using vehicles, I will tend to cut the inside of this first corner. This is the reason why. Because the course sort of cambers away quite drastically, and there is just no grip out there. This is a four-wheel drive off-road Buggy, and I turned the corner plenty of times. Normally was a tiny bit too wide that time, and then we plummet off the course. That is why you will often see the vehicles, kind of rise on the inside, almost cut the course on the inside through there, because if you don't, you just end up sliding off because there is no grip out of that corner. I got a little carried away across the bumps. It is possible to slide this car around. Of course, it's nowhere near as bad as the rear-wheel drive, but yeah, it is possible. More bouncing, and then with slightly not quite stopped in time and twisting and falling. This is an incredibly strong vehicle, this one. I don't actually know if it's possible to kill the engine/driveline bits. Yeah, it is a tough old Buggy. It's stuck now on its side. If it was righted, yes, it would still probably be moving at least. It took a little while to get a clean run out of this vehicle. It was mainly just me carrying too much speed over the jumps. Didn't have any problems with these, aside from that one time where I slid off the cliff. These first few corners didn't pose any problems for the buggy. I wasn't spinning it around here, and I mean, sure, if you try to really cut that hairpin there, you may snap a wheel or put it on its side, but unlike the big lifted trucks, this thing isn't going to have a problem with rolling over. The jumps, even on this run, that was a big wheelie that I don't particularly want to be having. There, you don't want to be in the air that much, and I am having to slow it down for these bumps, almost to the same extent that we were with some of the road cars, because if I try and take it at full speed, yes, the buggy can survive it, that's fine, but it's going to send me into the air, and then we'll bounce and eventually find our way off the course. Again, we can be quick through these turns. There is a lot of grip in this vehicle. You just got to be a bit careful across these bumps, and then we come up towards the tunnel. Make sure to get it slowed down some through here. I couldn't quite take it as flat, and even there, with me being cautious, you can see how close it was to ending in disaster. And then we're flying down this final part of the course with a little lift. We get around the turn and through the tunnel. We did take a bit of a knock on the the front of the car. Yeah, we twisted up the suspension and steering there, but it's okay. It made it down the course, and as expected, I mean, it's a lovely, relatively easy to drive vehicle down here. It dealt with everything that I could throw at it, and there is an awful lot of acceleration. And damage-wise, the only damage sustained to the damn thing was from clipping the inside of the final bridge. Up next, we have got the D-Series pickup truck, but a modified version of it. I think it's called the D35. It's got a flatbed on the back. Thought this would be interesting to give this one a go. This is actually from a really good mod. There's loads of different versions of the D-Series with all sorts of various lengths and attachments and so on. And yeah, interesting vehicle, because it is, I believe, a rear-wheel drive. And, well, the back of the truck likes to bounce around. The back of the truck, because there's not a huge amount of weight over the back of the truck, it really does like to bounce. I think, again, you see, having problems at turn 1 with that just being a little bit too wide, and very nearly fell off the course. And now we have the back of the truck is just wanting to start causing a few issues down here. The bigger issue, with this truck is it is, shall we say, somewhat slidey if you get things wrong. Having gone from a four-wheel drive buggy that you could just boot it around there, I then went to a flatbed truck that you can't quite boot it around there, and then we do another one just for good measure. Yeah, because when I put the power down, I thought I was going to mess it up and end up in the wall again, so I figured it would be safer just to spin around. I mean, this run's gone anyway. I set off to carry on practicing, but yeah, oversteer and sliding the truck around was a little bit of the concern. That was more of a very big clonk on the front of the truck going over a bump, and that kind of unsettled everything. And by the time it was back on the road, it was going sideways, and at that stage, I can't I can't do anything with it. It's a decent width, of course. There certainly are not narrower places I could have done this series, but there is still plenty of trees and walls, or rock faces, I should say, to cause problems. Next one again, just getting a little carried away on the bumps and sliding it around, and definitely couldn't stop this one as we plummeted off the cliff. Yeah, that's a pretty ruined truck. That's not going anywhere particularly fast. It's not the largest cliff that you can fall down here, but it's still going to do sizable damage to the cars when they hit the bottom. Now, amazingly, I did get one very, very quick run through this tunnel. On the opening attempt, on one of the earlier attempts, I should say, sorry, I just thought, bugger it, I'm going to go flat out through and see what happens. It made it through. I got really lucky with the initial jump. The problem was I was going so quick that I couldn't slow the truck down for the actual corner afterwards. I'm used to taking vehicles through there a lot slower because they get thrown around by the bumps. I just hit the bump right with the flatbed on the first time and carried an awful lot of speed through. Problem is I couldn't really do it again. Whenever I tried doing a similar sort of thing, this time it just fired the back up in the air, and we're not stopping that in time for a corner. With the truck writhing around that much, you're not going to slow down or have very much turning. So yeah, we found ourselves in a tree, quite a nasty crash. I just couldn't get it to do that same line. If you hit the jump right, you could get good speed through there, but it wasn't easy. It really wasn't easy. Again, you can see the back of the truck is just bouncing around a little bit, and while I was trying to sort all of that out, we just ran out of steering. That's another common theme I found with this vehicle, is that as it's getting chucked about a bit, you just find you don't quite have the steering that you expect. This is a long, wide vehicle, so easy just to clip like trees and whatever else lies around the the course. I was trying to be a bit more cautious, and that didn't work. That time around, just tried slowing it down, clipped the wall on the inside, and that put the truck on its roof, and we're just going to spin around in circles. Yeah, it was a little bit of a pain, but not quite as bad as I expected. I have to say, it was pretty good for a rear-wheel drive sort of flatbed truck thing, with slightly curious weight distribution. Well, I say curious weight distribution. It seems to have a curious effect on the back of the truck. It did remarkably well. It felt pretty quick to drive down here. It felt pretty decent. I mean, none of the vehicles are going at massively high speeds on this course. They just can't. It's too bumpy, and there are too many jumps that if you tried to take a lot of speed, you would just soar off the cliff. But this did feel like it was decently quick around here. Again, you can see the back. It just goes up in the air. There's all the back of this vehicle wants to be doing. Having to be careful now on these next few bumps. This is it's a sturdy vehicle. If you did take it with some speed and you knocked the front of the truck on them, it would probably survive. It may throw you off the course later on while you're fighting to get it back under control, but it will take a few knocks. This vehicle. I didn't really want to risk running the bumps on the inside of that particular corner. With the way that this vehicle was behaving, it would have ended quite badly, with the rear of the truck having a complete and utter mind of its own. As I said, I couldn't get the really fast line through here again right across the jump. I just could never quite sort it out. I'm not sure this would have the grip to then get around the next turn had I carried that much speed again. Then it's up towards the final corner. I got brave and carried as much speed as I dare on the way down. We made it through the bridge, and this time not clonking any of the walls on the way through, and the flatbed truck is at the bottom of the course. So far I think it's been the best vehicle for surviving without damage. Absolutely no damage was done on the way down. No damage was done crossing the finish line. Didn't bump any of the bridge's walls. It was much better than I expected. Yeah, it had a few problems with the bumps, but being rear-wheel drive and everything, it was a lot better than I could have expected from it. And our third and final vehicle today, it is the Grand Marshal. Yes, a 4-door V8 powered saloon car. Now, I was expecting this to rear-wheel drive as well. I was expecting this to struggle. I was expecting this to be quite sideways for quite a lot of the time. Also, as you can see, there is no real ride height in this car compared to the vehicles that have gone quickly down here. So I figured the bumps may be a little bit problematic for this car. It's just not designed to deal with them. Again, turn one was a little bit wide through there. I did just about manage to get away with it. Now, I've got to be careful trying to put the power down through these early turns. These are the tightest corners on the track, and rear-wheel drive cars tend to like to spin, such as that. Yeah, that's the fear that you have with rear-wheel drive cars. On the opening run, I just carried a little bit too much speed into the turn, put it round in a circle. Managed to get it going again. Again, since it's the first run, I thought I'd carry on, keep, see what I could do with the car on this course, as these early ones are just sort of learning the track with the vehicle. As you can imagine, with these big bumps, the car can't quite deal with them, and sure enough, trying to be flat out through there doesn't really work with a road car. It's a complete wreck. It's still bloody working though. It kept going, but yeah. You're going to have to slow down with these. I mean, if I was slowing down with a Buggy, you're going to have to slow down with a car like this. And the oversteer was, shall we say, a little problematic with this vehicle, as again, just getting that little bit too carried away across the corner, and I couldn't get it back under control. Of course, one of the cars sliding, and then there's a bump involved, and you're really fighting for control. And we found a tree and completely messed up the front end. Again, vehicle was still working. It takes a few hits, this car, before you can properly kill it. Another one where I just got a little bit of a twitch at a really bad point. Anywhere else on the course, and I probably could have saved that without any trouble. Problem is, it just got a twitch as we're about to go past a tree, and it was only a small clip on the front. But yeah, that put an end to that particular run. And this is the what you expect from a rear drive road car on a course like this. Oversteer to be a problem and the bumps to be small issues. That one again, it was a case of a bit of oversteer and then ended up sort of running the cliff face, and that throws you into the road on the other side. Yeah, I broke the car again. Not the easiest car to drive down here, as you would imagine, but it actually wasn't as bad as feared. In all honesty, despite it sitting in a ditch down here, this car was not quite as terrible as I was expecting from it. It dealt with the bumps remarkably well. For a low road car with rear-wheel drive, it really did deal with them pretty well. I'm carrying a bit too much speed over the bumps there, and it couldn't slow it down in time for the tree. But as you see, it's making it down here without a huge amount of damage. I mean, the bumpers are still attached to the car, the rear windscreen is still intact. It really did deal very well with what the course had to throw at it. I have to be careful on the throttle through this first part. With these tighter corners, you got to be careful, because otherwise, as you saw on the first run, you will just spin the car. There's no handbrakes and sliding it through these turns, because it's not going to work. You're just going to end up spinning out. So it's better to be on the safe side through here. This run here, we did actually take a little bit of a clonk on the rear bumper, but it's dealing with these remarkably well, and it's got decent power, this car. It's not a slow car, this one, and it's managing to use more of it than I expected down here. Even though being rear-wheel drive, I could be relatively brave with the power down here. Again, I wasn't fancying fighting the bumps on the inside of the corner. You can get away with some of the vehicles running there. This one here is just a little bit too sensitive to run the bumps. I probably would have had problems if I had been trying that. Up towards the tunnel, making sure to get the vehicle slowed down. We do take a little bit of a bump on the inside there, but nothing major. And then it's flat out as we run down towards the line. Get big airtime, big two-wheeled moment, all out of shape as we come up towards the bridge and clonk the wall on our way across the finish line. Yeah, that big two-wheeled moment, and I think I got a small sort of wheelie on a bump somewhere, just ran out of turning or couldn't quite turn in time. We clonked the bridge on the way past, but it made it across the finish line. Yeah, this was a bit of a surprise. I didn't expect it to be quite as good as it was. When we come to the times, and it is unsurprising, really, that the DSC Buggy goes to the very top of the table, 5 seconds quicker than the Silverado. The acceleration of that car is phenomenal, and it could deal with the bumps and didn't topple over. So yeah, not surprising to see the Buggy at the top. Grand Marshal did well, though. A 121.3, only 0.1 of a second off the Covert and 0.3 of a second off the Sunburst. That's a good time from a rear-wheel drive saloon car. I'm impressed with that vehicle, actually. Yeah, that did really well. And further down the flatbed, also an impressive time, a 31.7. For a great big truck that bounced around with the rear end constantly, I reckon that's pretty good going. I reckon that's not too bad of a time from that vehicle. Anyway, that is it for this video, guys. So I thank you very much for watching. If you would like to have a go with the mods that I've used in this video, all the links can be found in the description. But that is it from me, so until next time, goodbye.